All right, we are now live. Welcome everybody to the E.C.B.R.O. Discovery News Blockhead Show. All right, tonight we got a guest, Paul Hayes, with us tonight, and we're going to be talking about the Genoskwa Project. Now, let me ask you something, Paul. Am I pronouncing that correct? Genoskwa?
Genoskwa.
Genoskwa. Okay. See, I've been. That's one of the first things I wanted to ask you. Genoskwa.
Hey, yeah, everybody gets that.
What, what does Genoskwa mean?
It actually means stone giant. Uh, Native American term, stone giant. And the natives say that these things used to rub dirt and clay and stuff in their fur, and then when that dried, it give them a stonish appearance.
Yes, some Native Americans, in other words, call it rock man or something like that.
Yeah, rock man.
Okay. All right. Now, what made you start the Genoskwa Project?
Well, actually, me and Dan was part of another group,
Dan
and
Baker, yeah.
yeah, Dan Baker, and we things just kind of didn't work out for us in that other group, so we left it, and um, probably like a month or two before we left that group, Dan kept after me, you need to start your own group. Well, running a group is a lot of work, so
Yeah.
I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought about it some more, and then finally I said, what the hell, so yeah, we started it back in March of 2013.
Okay, so it's been a little over a year now. So
Yeah, a little over a year. Yeah, we're getting close to 1,000 members.
awesome. Now I know you guys have some events coming up. You guys just actually already gone through some events. Is that
Gone
correct?
two.
Well, no, I know you got one coming up here next month.
Yeah,
The
we got the
Genoskwa Fest.
Genoskwa Fest in Latonia. Yeah,
Right, over there off of Main Street. Okay.
yeah, yeah. We're supposed to have Jody Cook from Ohio. We're supposed to have William Barnes from the Falcon Project. Mark DeWorth, he's from Ohio. Um, and then we're going to have Dr. Jeff Meldrum.
Oh yeah, brunch. Yeah, I remember that. I was looking at that. So that should be very interesting. I know, like from what I read on your blog site, that it kind of came up. The forum came up at the last minute. So where there
Yeah,
wasn't much notice on that though. So
we've been, well, Tony, that's been planning this brunch thing, but when you got to work with a town, to plan this stuff, I mean, it takes a long time because everything has to get talked about and voted on and then approved, and then of course, when forms, somebody makes a form, then that has to be approved, and it takes a long time, and I kind of been after him a little bit to, um, get these forms out to all these people that's interested. And I finally got the form. I think they emailed it to me yesterday, so I had time this
oh,
morning, so I put it on the website. Yeah, because it's only limited to like the first 50 people
oh
that
okay.
actually pay their money. Yeah, because there's limited seating. They're gonna hold it in the Nelson Schmick House in Latonia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. All right. So yeah, that's gonna be. Well, now that's just a brunch, but I mean, well, is that all part of the fest itself? The brunch.
Well, what it's going to be, the festival is actually going to go from Friday the 13th, um,
Through the 15th, correct?
yeah, to the 15th. The main day to the festival is going to be on Saturday, but there's going to be vendors and stuff like that there Friday, and then I think Friday evening is the 5K Bigfoot race.
Oh yeah, the yeah, actually,
Yeah,
yeah, the chase, yeah.
Latonia's putting all that they're putting all that on because they're trying to raise money to preserve the coke ovens in that area. So I guess last I heard they were needing like $200,000 to, get that all fixed back up and preserved again. So they're working on that. So they're doing that, the race, and then any vendor that pay their money for their tables, the brunch, and also the yard's charging a $5 cover charge to listen to Meldrum speak.
Right.
But all that money, goes toward the coke oven. So.
Okay. Well, to me, I know, looking at your blog and everything, as far as the Genoskwa Fest and everything, it's actually almost kind of like I mean, I don't know. Would you say it's like another Ohio Bigfoot conference in a similar way?
It's going to be similar, except it's not going to be held indoors.
Right.
Except for the speakers. The speakers will be indoors, but the rest of it's going to be on Main Street, and part of it's going to be at Wick Park, and then the speakers, I think, are speaking in the high school.
Okay.
Because the high school will hold, like, I don't know, 1,100 people or something.
Oh, wow. I got another question that actually just popped up. Actually, Johnny Bigfoot, that's on the board below, he's actually asking, what are the coke ovens?
The coke ovens, they used to, see if I can remember this here. They're roughly 100 years old, and I think they used it for making steel or something. They put the coal in the ovens. You can get on Google and kind of look it up, and it gives you a little brief history of everything. And
right.
Yeah, they're they were well known, and I guess a lot of people got killed in that area. So they actually shut it down. But it's about 100 years old. It's really nice area. If you go down there, it's a really nice area. And there has been sightings, Bigfoot sightings down there too.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got a few more questions, but
all right, hang on here. I gotta plug in my laptop here before it goes dead on me. Hang on.
All right. Well, hey guys, while he's taking care of that real quick, I was gonna give you guys. I'll go across the board. I'll ask each one of you guys if you guys have questions for him. Oh. And hold on. Who's this on the end that keeps jumping in? Somebody jumped in here. I don't know who it was.
Must be Timmy. She keeps
one
coming in and going out.
One question I got for him is,
oh yeah. Oh, wait till he's getting ready to come back. Let's wait. Get them all together here. What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna on my board here.
All right, we're good.
All right, great, man. Before I go on with my questions, I'm gonna ask the board, and Freddie actually has a question for you. How about go ahead, Freddie?
Yeah, I just want to know with you and your group, how when y'all have sightings, how intense are they? Are they just you see them and they look at y'all and walk away, or they hide or play hide and seek with you, or what?
Run that by me again.
When you and your group are out squatching, say like you go out at nighttime, and y'all come across a few squatches. Say if y'all see eyeballs, something like that, how do they react when or in your area?
Actually, they don't. We've only come across maybe a couple in this one area that we consider Area 65. They didn't tend to get real close. We did see some eye shine. We did hear movement. They're not real aggressive, but there was a time that a couple of the research members and the landowner actually went down in the swamp area, and there was something down there that wasn't real happy about it. And he let out a real loud growl, scared them half to death. They got the hell out of Dodge, I'm telling you. Scared them half to death. Yeah, whatever it was down there didn't part of anybody being back there. And that was roughly 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And they said that scream was probably about 100 foot away. And down in that swamp area, that grass gets, oh my God, an easy 10, 12 feet tall. And it's so thick. Yeah, it's so thick back there. You could probably park a Buick back there and never even see it. It's pretty thick. Yeah.
Okay.
So, they're not really aggressive, we haven't really had anything thrown at us, rocks or logs or, anything like that. But you get close enough, they let you know.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Now, what part of Ohio are you located in?
Well, we're kind of like central Ohio, not quite northeast.
Okay.
We're on the east side of Ohio, but
Right.
kind of roughly in the middle there. Yeah.
Ah. Okay. Let's see, Cliff, you're currently muted right now. Did you have any questions that you would like to ask Paul?
Well, I just wanted the Genoskwa Project overall. What would you say the goal of the project is?
Well, actually, our goal is just to, we're trying to collect enough evidence that, we can, prove to mainstream science that these things do exist. Then, if you can accomplish that task, then, to protect them and their habitat, that's kind of what we're going for. I personally know they exist. Dan knows they exist. Dan had his sighting last year, and I was actually with him when he had his sighting, and then I had mine in 2011. So, I mean, I know they exist. It's just, you just got to have something to prove to mainstream science.
Yeah, that's actually interesting that you actually bring that up, because one of the things I wanted to ask, because that's part of what the E.C.B.R.O, has, like it wants to do, as far as that's one of their goals. But as far as what about conservation? Like, if you were to prove their existence to mainstream science to where it does matter and count, would you try to work towards the conservation of the species?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Tracy, you there, Tracy? I don't know if he hears me. Tracy, you got sound? I think you might be muted. You have to unmute yourself. All right. I'm not hearing Tracy. Till Tracy gets situated, Johnny, do you have sound?
I think I just unmuted myself.
Oh, there you go. You got it, Tracy.
Yeah. I didn't know I could do it on a cell phone.
Oh, okay.
I got one question for him. I mean, it's probably something he's heard before.
All right.
How many? Do you got a lot of different things you're going to try, like different areas? I know you're in Ohio. I mean, that's a pretty big state, and you got reports from the north all the way down to the south into West Virginia, parts of Ohio.
Uh-huh.
Is there anything you're going to try different than everybody else?
Well, actually, we have been discussing that. I mean, a lot of people's tried a lot of different things. Some people's tried some real crazy things, but our group mainly focuses on Stark County, Columbiana County, there's enough activity going on in, just a few areas around here that, we can't really keep up with it all. We get reports in all the time, whether somebody has a sighting or they actually hear anything. Me and Dan has actually been discussing some, just some different ideas that maybe we would try. I know coming up in Area 306, that area is 306 acres, and down in the swamp area, we're actually going to have a team down there, because we went down there last fall, and we just took a browse of the area just to kind of get a feel for it. And I don't know, something down there in that bottom corner has my attention, and I just don't know what it is yet, but it definitely has my attention. And then also opposite of that, up on the ridge, where we found all them bones and stuff up there, we're going to have another team up there. Now, if you're up on that ridge, you can actually see down to that other bottom corner where we're going to have a team down there. And we actually put some more members on the team just for that particular area because of it being so large. And Dan just purchased a spotting scope. Of course, we do got our night vision. We will be able to communicate with two-way radio too. So hopefully we can get down there real soon. I mean, right now, as it is, that property is like 30% wetlands down there. But right now, just with what the landowners, telling us, man, you almost need a swamp buggy down here right now. He said it's really bad. Yeah, so we're kind of hoping it dries up here a little bit.
Yeah, we've had some pretty heavy rains here within the last day or so too here down this way. But now you were mentioning in that one area up on the ridge, you guys found bones. What is it? Kind of bones were they? Like, was there like a cluster of them, or?
Well, actually, what we were doing when we were down there in the fall last year, the landowner, he actually owns a 6-man ATV, and he says, hell, we're going to take this instead of walking. So we were running along the tree line up on the ridge, and actually Dan's wife, Sue, she spotted a tree break, back in the woods just a little bit. So she mentioned it, and the landowner stopped, and Dan got out, and he's focused on this tree break, and I'm coming up, I'm following behind him, and he gets over by that tree break. I'm going, Dan, I'm going to check this out, and I pointed on the ground, and yeah, there was bones all over the place, like in a 15-foot square area, roughly. And what it was 2 cows and a bull, because we found the one had the horns, so it was a bull, and then the other 2 were cows. And we did find broken femur bones. We found broken rib bones, and all 3 of these were concentrated like in a 15-foot area. And then we just kind of looked around, and we both thought kind of at the same time, it's like you almost into a different world because of all the structures and the breaks and all that. It was like you entered a whole new world up there. And we kind of did ask the landowner. I mean, he don't have any cattle or anything, but he says, well, none of the neighboring farmers have mentioned anything about losing cattle or anything like that. And then we kind of thought, well, what if a farmer, some of the cattle died, what if they, normally they bury it. They
Right.
just don't take it somewhere and just dump it on the ground and let it rot.
Yeah,
They
some
normally,
farms. Yeah, some farms have actually almost a very big pit for such
Yeah.
incidents. But
right, and a lot of farmers, they'll have some type of backhoe, stuff like that, and
Yeah.
yeah, they'll actually, dig a hole and bury the cattle. But this was all laying on top of the ground. Now it had been there a little while. You could tell it'd been there a while. Um,
Did you
but
know? Did you notice any bones broken where the marrow was taken out?
no, we didn't notice anything like that. Like I say, some of the femur bones, you could tell, were broke. Um, definitely the rib bones were broke. Um, but nothing as far as bone marrow had been taken out that we seen. Um, this is that same area where the landowner actually had heard something really large, sounded like it jumped in his lake and was moving volumes of water.
oh
And
wow.
then, when he kicked on he's got floodlights outside, and this was about 11 o'clock at night. When he kicked on his floodlights, it quit. Then he went back in and he turned it back off, and then it started back up again. And he says whatever it was had to have been huge because it was just moving volumes of water. You could hear it, but the lake is so far from his house. At 11 o'clock at night, he couldn't see. But then he has heard, like 3 howls in the distance, and they was coming from 3 different directions. So he's having some type of activity there, and he goes, "I can tell you right now, it wasn't a coyote." He goes, "I know that for a fact." Um, then Dan just went last week, I do believe, just to check the property. He actually didn't even think the landowner was home, but he got there and the landowner was there. And I guess he was talking to the landowner, and the one neighboring farmer had actually done some tree knocking and got responses back.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah,
cool.
now, yeah, we just learned of that last weekend. So I mean, both those people, the landowner and that farmer, they can't wait for us to actually get down there and see what we can find out.
So I take it the landowner, they're believers in Bigfoot then. I mean,
Well, the landowner, he was
I mean
probably
from
a
that.
little bit on the skeptic side, but
Yeah.
what he did, he went to one of our presentations that we had,
Right.
and with everything that we presented to the people, that got him thinking, and he started putting 2 and 2 together. He's going, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? I've heard that. I've seen that. Now it's got him thinking. And, he's kind of into it pretty good right now. He's talking about buying a FLIR for himself. And we're not talking no cheapy $2,000 one. He wants a good one that can capture pictures, record, video. I mean, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, he's actually ready to dump some money on it. So yeah, I think if he has something like that on his property, I think that would just tickle him to death.
Huh. Okay. Just all right. I'm sorry, I was checking on something. Okay. Now, the real quick about the bones. As far as I know, Freddie asked about the bone marrow, but you guys, did you guys notice, or is there any kind of, I mean, anything stand out as far as the way they might have been broke or snapped? I mean, did they look like they've been crushed or?
No, didn't look like they've been crushed. Like far as the rib bones, you could tell kind of where it gets up closer to the spine. You know, that's where they were broke.
Oh, okay.
And then, like I say, the large femur bone, you could, you know, it takes a lot of force to break a femur bone on a cow.
Yeah.
It roughly takes about 4,000 pounds per square inch of force to break one of them bones.
Mm.
So, you know,
Yeah.
it definitely took some strength. Whatever done it. You know, I can't say 100%. You know, it was Bigfoot related, but you know, if you just kind of think about it, you know, two cows and a bull didn't walk up in the woods together and all die and fall over in the same spot. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, something put them there. And then, like I say, you know, if you go and you just look around, you know, the stick structures, you know, within, you know, 40 feet of that area with the bones in it. I mean, well, if you go to our website and click on the photo link up top, and then click on Area 306, you know, we got pictures of all that kind of stuff on there.
Okay. Area 306, you say?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let me ask you, what's the most impressive type or form of evidence that you guys ever come across?
Well, you know, that would, as of right now, I mean, Area 65, you know, we call it areas because, you know, we don't want people to know what the location is. You know, we know what they are, you know, but.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, Area 65 there for a while was pretty hot. You know, we actually captured howls on audio recorder. Yeah, and you know, in Area 65, we did have the red eye shine. We actually seen, you know, a large silhouette, you know, and the eye shine, you know, actually go up the hill. And, you know, we did have team members spread out all over the place. Also, Area 65, we casted both of those prints. You know, we've had team member, you know, get growled at. It was a pretty hot area. You know, that area had deer with twisted necks. Also, the neighbor had that 300-pound pony with a broken neck.
Oh wow!
It was laying by the fence that was up against the tree line. They just came out one day and there it was laying. It had a broken neck.
Y'all find the hair samples yet?
You know, we did find a couple hairs, you know, but we didn't send anything in because it's kind of expensive to have them tested.
Yeah, about $300 to $600 something.
You know, so you know, unless you got money falling out your butt or something, I guess you just gotta hold on to them. But
yeah, because of the hair samples that I had like five hair samples, and I was told to send them off by different groups, to tell them to send them off to these certain places. And that was last year, and I still have yet to hear from any of them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, some of them places, you know, it does take a while, you know, but you know, the last I heard, if you sent them out to Sykes, it was like $1,500, and you know, I mean, who's got $1,500 to, you know, check a hair sample? But you know, then I guess Dr. Meldrum, you know, I guess he's got the equipment now to do it, and I think, don't quote me, but I think he was going to charge $400.
Well, he's got. I sent him a what's that little follicle on the end of your hair that looks like a little bone, the root.
I
sent him like 5 or 6 hairs and that dermal thing on it, and it's on the hair. I haven't heard, and he gave me the address to send it there to his to the college he's at, and I ain't heard nothing back from him yet.
Yeah. Well, you know, he is a busy guy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've actually been in contact with him twice. Once was a while back, and actually 2 days ago, he actually replied to what I was asking him just the other day, and he is very busy and he's got a lot going on.
He's always, he's
He's
almost
got
got.
what's that Creature Weekend coming up? He's getting ready to participate in that this coming week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's this weekend.
Yeah, that's what he was telling me about. I didn't know he was participating in that. So yeah, because Creature Weekend, I think that's Billy Willard, if I'm not mistaken, one of his events, or he's a part of it. I don't know. So
yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything else they want to? Hold on. Sorry, my plug came loose. Anyone else have anything else they want to ask or share with Paul? As far as Cliff?
Yeah, Paul. So the Genoskwa Fest is free, but it's $5 for dinner or to see Meldrum speak. Is that what it is?
No, it's $5 cover charge to listen to him speak.
Okay.
If you want to have brunch with him, they're charging $40 a person to have brunch with him. And if you go to our website, toward the top, you'll see a picture of Dr. Meldrum holding a calf. Right beside that is a form. It lists on there what food they're serving, all that. But the actual event itself is free.
That's awesome.
Any monies that Latonia is charging, we don't have any control over that. That's their thing. So, if it were up to me, it'd be all free. But they're trying to raise money for the coke oven. So
yeah, well, that's cool.
I mean, it's going to be our first year, so I don't know how smooth it'll go.
It sure sounds like a lot of fun. I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of people show up for that.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah, because usually everything's down at Salt Fork and all that, but getting it up here in Columbiana County. Well, just like when me and Dan first did, we did the first presentation in Latonia at the library, and they advertised that, in a few newspapers or whatever. We had like 250 people. It was actually more than 250 people show up for this presentation, but after 250, they had to close the library down, lock the doors to keep people out because,
Oh wow.
getting that many people, it's a safety hazard type thing,
Yeah, fire marshal gets involved. Yeah.
Yeah, so they actually locked the doors, but I bet you, we probably had 300 people, wanting to listen to this thing. So, that's where everybody kind of got the idea. Hey, if you have, a type of Bigfoot related, conference or whatever, I think it would draw a lot of people in, because if you had that many, normally when you have a presentation, you have an average of 30 to 60 people that show up for a presentation.
Right.
That's usually our average. But like I say, the one we did in Latonia, it was unbelievable. We didn't think we were going to have that many people, and man, we had people sitting up on the floor around the podium where we was standing at. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, that kind of reminds me. There's something while you're on here and bringing that up. I wanted to ask Tracy a question. Tracy, you still planning on having a town hall meeting in October?
Yeah, I'm going to try to get a hold of the volunteer fire department chief over here in Speedwell.
Okay.
Right near ground zero.
Right.
And, this guy, Grandpa Davis, I've been talking to the last couple of weeks. He actually gave me a couple of reports out of an area just right down below there, about 1.5 miles, 2 miles.
Okay.
I'm going to try to talk to the chief of the fire department and raise money for them.
Right.
But
Hmm.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that should be interesting because like what Paul was saying, as far as I'm wondering. I mean, as far as how you plan on conducting it, because if it's only a fire hall, we just lost him. But yeah, I was asking him because he plans on trying to have a town hall meeting, something I guess along the lines of something similar to, yeah, I guess the way the Finding Bigfoot crew shows theirs on, you know,
Yeah,
on
that's gonna be pretty interesting, man. So I guess me and you gotta find a way get a way down there, Daniel.
yeah. Oh, that won't be no problem. We'll figure it out by then. We got several months.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we get down there. So that should be pretty interesting.
Hey, I'm
Yeah.
still on here.
Well, we can call
Yes.
Tracy to come and get us. He's a taxi service anyway.
Hey, are y'all hearing me?
Yeah, we're
What?
in you.
Yeah, we
Oh,
hear you, Tracy.
all right. I'm going
Yeah,
blank.
sorry we lost you
Yeah,
there.
every time I try, I can listen, but every time I try to talk, it or boop goes up. But
All right.
yeah, I'm trying to get a hold of the guy that's over the fire department and see if we can
Right.
sell hot dogs and stuff like that for like kind of like the motorcycle people do for the volunteer fire department around here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And get like a town hall meeting together and get some more information about these areas like that, so we can get in there and get more encounters. Get more people talking about it and zero down where these things pop out at certain times of the year.
Oh yeah.
If you're gonna hold an event, if you do a good write up and send it to all the local newspapers to send it to the editor, man, they'll stick that stuff in there for nothing. That's kind of what we do. A lot of places, if you get a hold of the paper and say, hey, I want to put this in, they want to charge you. But if you write up your own small article or whatever, and just give the whatever information and just email it directly to the editor, man, that stuff goes in them papers and it don't cost you a dime. We do that.
I mean, that's a good idea. I mean, especially it's for a good cause. I mean, you're raising money for the fire department themselves, just so you can share your information to gain information from locals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually, yeah. Maybe that's something you could look into, Tracy, as far as trying to set up. Maybe we could all work something up together and to present. So
Well, I can call the Stanton News Leader, the Waynesboro News and Opinion, and see about having some over at the maybe the Dooms Fire Department, since they're in a small community anyway, right there right outside of Waynesboro.
now I know. Well, plus more as far as down Tracy's way, I know Cliff, you're pretty much neighbors with Tracy. Maybe perhaps maybe you could give him some information or see what you guys might be able to work together with down that way. I don't know.
Yeah, just the next county, so that'd be good to work on. Maybe we can get some stuff in the newspapers.
Yeah.
Be new current events or something. So.
Right. So. Okay. Paul, one thing I didn't ask, I don't recall anyone else asking. How long have you? Well, let me think about how to ask this properly. When was the first time you started believing in Bigfoot, or what got you into believing in the Bigfoot? As far as I'm sure it all started off with a curiosity, like most of us did.
Well, hell, really, for most of my life, I've always believed it exists. I'm not one of them people that, my mind is closed where, there's no aliens, there's no UFOs, there's no Bigfoot, there's no Loch Ness Monster, all that crap. But,
Right.
I've always believed in all that, pretty much most of my life. Because we're not the only thing on this planet, you know what I mean? And it's, you just got to kind of keep it a little bit open mind. I mean, my mind isn't wide open because there is some things that I think are totally ridiculous, but
yeah,
that's a whole new show, right?
Perhaps it's
Mountain monsters.
But I've always believed these things existed, and to be honest, when I was growing up, man, I was constantly in the woods. You know what I mean? And I never went out to go looking for these things or whatever, and and then when I had my sighting in 2011, where I'm like, ugh, well, once you get the bug, you know what I mean? I mean, you just get into it, and you want to try and find out everything you can, and of course, everything you read is either theory or opinion, So, but ever since 2011, really got into it then, but I always believed that they existed.
So, Paul, how close was the 2011 encounter?
This thing was about 100 feet from us, and it was actually a daytime sighting.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, more and more you're hearing that to be a little bit more common these days, but most of them usually seen at night somehow or later in the evening.
Well, believe it or not, if you look at a lot of reports, I'm not saying it's Ohio specific or nothing, but if you read a lot of reports, man, in Ohio, there's a lot of daytime sightings.
Yeah.
There's probably more daytime than there is nighttime sightings.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and and at 100 feet, when I actually seen this thing head to toe, my oldest son was with me, and he's actually the one that caught it out of the corner of his eye. He was walking in front of me. He was probably 6-8 feet in front of me. We're walking his deer trail, and he just instantly stops and he's looking to his left. I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? And then he points over, but at first I couldn't see what he was pointing at, and because I had this tree in front of me, and then he points again. He's going, man, right there, and I hunched down to see underneath this limb. And from my angle, I could see this thing from head to toe. But from his angle, he could only see like the top half. So, we did have Mark Mazel from the B.F.R.O., him and Mark DeWorth, they came down here, and, I took them through the area and explained everything. And, there's my reports on the B.F.R.O. website and everything, but with my angle, I could see this thing head to toe, and it's like you see something that big and massive, it's like, holy crap, and but when we went walking in in the woods, we didn't take cameras, we didn't take camcorders, we didn't take none of that.
Right.
I did have my cell phone in my pocket. When you see this thing for the first time, you don't think about no cell phone. We just stood there, my mouth's open, and because you just see how huge this thing is, I'm telling you, I could probably kick myself in the ass, but because it'll probably never happen again like that. But if I could have got a picture with my cell phone, that would have been, one of the best pictures. Because, like I said, the only thing between him and us was just a little bit of brush and, a few saplings. I mean, and at 100 feet, it would have been a damn good photo.
Well, Paul, I think I can honestly speak for everybody here. I mean, that participated in our recent expedition. We could actually completely relate to you, especially if you stay tuned afterwards and when we get into the other discussion. I think we could all relate to that situation with our little encounter that we had, and it was very exciting for one thing, but the detail, we'll get into the detail a little later, but yeah, that was very interesting. So, but yeah, like I said, we could all relate to not being prepared or thinking about what to pull out or what to have, even regardless if you have it or not. when you're in that, yeah, you're in that moment. You don't think about, let's pull something out. Let's get the evidence. But you're in that situation, and
I'll
it's
tell
like
you, what's really freaky to me is I had in 1981, I had one come out in front of me, 5 feet in front of me, and I was hunting. I did not know how to react. My body said one, my head said one thing, and my legs said another.
Mm-hmm.
That was like 45, 50 seconds of the most terrifying day of my life. But he just looked at me and just walked and just when I turned around, when I turned my head, turned back around, he was gone.
mm,
And
These things, yeah, there's been a couple of accounts where they've been a little aggressive, but um, for the most part, they don't want no contact with humans. They don't want to be bothered. It's they could kill you in a heartbeat if they really wanted to, but I just don't think they want any part of it. If you happen to stumble across one and he's just feet from you, you know, yeah, while you're crapping down your leg, he's just gonna look at you and then he's gone. He don't want no confrontation or nothing.
yeah, but I
right.
had the thing about it
Because
was I had a gun in my hand. I was hunting, and I had the gun on my shoulder. I wasn't paying. I was looking around, and I was like, he just walked out and just turned and faced me face to face. I looked from his feet to his head. Well, I told my dad about it, and he asked what kind of drugs I was on. But I told another guy over who lived over all his life, and he said he sees them almost every day on his property. He says the first time he seen them, he said he thought it was a couple of guys standing at the edge of the woods watching him. But he sees them like every day, something like that, But he's dead now, So, but that's one experience I'll never forget. I can't describe it because it was indescribable. All I can say is he stunk and he was in front of me. That's the only thing you can say. But he didn't show no aggression. He just sit there and just kind of waddled from side to side and just looked at me.
Yeah, like I say, they don't want no interaction with humans. They don't want no part of us. They just want to be left alone. And 99% of the time, they're just they're going to be gone. You're going to look down or something, or you're going to look away, and it's going to be gone. And it's
Yep.
Usually the only, in my opinion, the only thing that would cause them to be aggressive is if there was a juvenile in the area, or a small one, or possibly they were hunting for their dinner and you interrupted it, something to that effect, and you might get a bluff charge, you might get something thrown at you, or just enough to just scare you out of the area. But if these things want to kill people, they could do it in a heartbeat, and there's nothing you're going to do about it.
Right.
But
Okay. Any other questions for Paul? We're actually getting ready to go into our second hour, and we're going to be getting into another discussion. And Paul, when we get into that, feel free to ask us questions if you like, because I think some of our part of our situation or anything related. See, I mean, from what you were telling us, it kind of sounds familiar a little bit. So, and, we, like I said, we kind of feel you on this, in the situations. And but before we get into ours, I have a question for you. As far as have you had any sightings at nighttime?
Yeah, the actual down in Area 65, we were actually doing an expedition.
Okay.
And it was at 11 o'clock at night, and I took a team with me to walk the ridge line. And Dan, he had the landowner take him up over the ridge down the other side into the swamp area. He wanted to see if he could, capture any audio back there. Well, the landowner in Area 65, he's like, you know, in the beginning he was all for it, but as things progressed on, you know, it actually scared the crap out of him. So he really didn't want to go back in that swamp area, you know, at night. But Dan talked him into it, and they get down over top the ridge, back on the other side, start heading down the swamp. Then they came across that nasty, putrid odor, and you know, landowners like, I really don't want to go any further. So, you know, Dan's like, well, all right, you know, man, but I kind of like to go back there, but yeah, he didn't want to go back there. He cut across the bottom part of the backside of the ridge, and he went through that putrid odor for, I think he said, about 150 feet. And then, you know, he radioed up to me. We were still up on the ridge line, and I said, you know, we're getting a hint of that. You know what I mean? He goes, well, landowner says, well, I wouldn't walk down over the ridge toward that swamp if I were you. Man, I don't recommend it. I said, well, I mean, that's what we're here for. So,
Right.
you know, we get down, we start walking down toward the swamp area, and in the meantime, the landowner and Dan, they went back to base camp. Well, we were down in by the swamp area, and Dan and them's trying to reach us on two-way radio, but we couldn't hear it at first. Well, finally, he got through to us, and as Dan was at base camp, it was Dan, it was Sue, and it was a landowner's wife. They were down at base camp, and the camp is about 100 feet from the tree line. And they finally got through, and they're going, you know, it's down here. It's just inside the tree line, and it's watching us, and, you know, I've got him on night vision and all that. I'm watching him, you know. So I talked the landowner into swinging by, picking me up, which he really didn't want to, you know, but he did it. And, you know, we went back to base camp while the rest of my team was walking back. And I get down there, and I pull up my night vision, and yeah, you could see the dark silhouette, you know, behind this large tree, and then it would kind of come out and go back in. And Dan actually heard this thing walking through just inside the tree line, you know, from right to left. And he actually heard the bipedal steps. And, you know, and once I got back to camp, you know, that thing hung around there for a good 15 minutes. I don't know if it knew that we could see it or what, but it hung around there for a little while. And then once the rest of my team got back to base camp, you know, I said, let's go, fellas. And the minute we started, you know, walking toward the tree line, this thing took off, and you could just see the branches moving, and, you know, and it's heading back uphill. So that was the nighttime sighting, you know, but it was such a distance, you know, we don't have any equipment to get any kind of video, you know.
Right.
I mean, it's so hard to get, you know, video at night, let alone night at, you know, 120 feet away.
Yeah, I understand that completely, because, I mean, I got a night vision camcorder. I mean, for one thing, it's a Bell and Howell. It takes excellent daytime footage. I mean, it's super high def camcorder. I mean, the night vision works real good if you're like no more than 10 feet away.
Right.
Not,
you know.
It's not up to 20, 30, 40, 50 feet like most average other night visions are.
You know, they do sell an infrared light attachment that you can use with that, but, you know, you're still usually not going to go any more than 30 feet, 40 feet roughly at the most, you know, but, I mean, yeah, it would help, but, yeah, if you get something more than that away, yeah, it's not going to pick up. The only other thing that I seen that would kind of help, see, my night vision I have a night vision binocular.
Same here.
And they do sell a bracket assembly where you can mount the binocular at the front,
Right.
and you can butt your camera or camcorder up against the eyepiece. Okay.
Mm.
Then that way it would actually, I mean, it actually does work, but the part I don't like about it is when you take a picture, because I tested it, when you take a picture of it,
Oh, you get a circle.
all you get a little, well, mine is like a small greenish circle, and
Exactly.
it's not,
I do the same thing.
real clear.
Yeah. It's like the same thing when I do that. I have a binocular too. I could hold it up against this here and just butt it up against it like you were saying.
Right.
It's not within reach right now. But it's the same thing what you're just talking about. And actually, Tracy tried it. I mean, I play around. I still do it. I mean, it works out good, but it's like you gotta have the focus. You can't be zoomed in.
Right.
You just do it right. I mean, it works out pretty good. But yeah, this here takes very sharp pictures daytime. But like I said, during the night, yeah, stay close with it. I mean, my binocular is pretty much like it's only a 1x. It's like the Gen 1 version. I mean, it's not the best one out there, but using a headlamp, if you're in pitch dark, using a headlamp, it does enhance it to where you can see a lot further. I mean, I can see quite a ways with it if you have the right lighting and the right focus. But yeah,
I read the other day they're coming out with thermal sensing imagers that will replace the night vision optics.
really.
Yeah, Sportsman's Guides is getting them. They already sent me a catalog for them, and they are sweet looking. They run about $148 to $175.
Really, that cheap?
Yeah.
Mm.
But
Supposed to be a lot cheaper. So, like, every member of the squad can have a device.
Mm.
So that'll take the market over pretty quick once it gets out there.
It sounds like a future investment. I'm always little by little. I mean, I don't have all the fancy equipment like a lot of these other people do. I mean, you guys know what I have. You guys seen it, and it's all basic. I mean, I have no more than what most of you guys have. So, but I mean, I try to get one piece at a time when I can. I mean, but that's probably a possible future buy, maybe for our next expedition. But I'm gonna take us into our next conversation, and like I said, Paul, feel free to jump in and ask questions. I mean, I did a brief field report. I'm sure that, everyone's seen it. It's not gonna have all the details, specifics in it. For those who are not aware, we recently had our 2014 our first annual E.C.B.R.O expedition.
Yay!
And, yeah, and I'm glad to say it went real well. I mean, we didn't have a huge crowd. We had 6 participants, and we did have a few guests that came and hung out with us. Fred Canny was there. Actually, I had my father and my daughter that was out there with us. And
Jeff Canny stopped by too.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's right. Fred's brother Jeff. Yep, his little baby brother. Yeah. And by the way,
and far exceeded my expectations.
it was. And
I
as far as
told you where the hot spot was, buddy boy.
oh yeah, you came through on that one. And
I tell you what, like I said, I'm proud of y'all because I told Daniel exactly what part to be at, or right under the area, and y'all hit at just the right time. They were coming down out of the mountains to feed, and y'all were right there when they come out of the woods. That is the best time to get them. Because the last time me and my brother was up there, we got 4 super hyper yells from across the road. But y'all had to walk right in on y'all. That's very unusual.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think before we get into that whole conversation, I'm going to just go through the report real quick. Because the whole event was from the 3rd through the 10th. Everyone was there up till, what was it? When was it you guys left, Stanley? Cliff?
Thursday.
It was Thursday morning, yeah. So yeah, for the rest of Thursday and all day Friday, I was, I was there by myself, and then I left. I was out of there by noontime Saturday. Um, just some sounds and the vocals we heard. We heard wails during the night. We heard howls at nighttime.
I'd never heard howls before.
Yeah, well, I've actually had some howls. We had owl hooting. That was me. I don't know if you guys heard any. I don't recall if us hearing some, but there was when I was by myself, I had owls hooting both during the daytime. Now I had, which I found was a little odd, but
Yes.
but we had owl hooting. I had owls hoot at me when I was out on a hike by myself 3 different times within 2 to 3 minutes apart, and also I had 1 or 2 at nighttime. Another thing that I had when I was hiking, I was sitting up on a high ridge, just after doing a lot of hiking. It was hot out. I had I heard possible rock clacking. I kept hearing every 5 to 10 minutes. I kept hearing something. I had to focus my ears a little bit more, because you had the sound of a brook that was down below me, steadily flowing. I had some birds chirping. Every now and then I would get this clacking sound, and I kept hearing clacking. And then apparently at some point after one of the clacks, I heard this loud thump, and I didn't know where it came from or what it might have been, but I heard a thump. And actually during that time, I had my audio recorder going, because I was actually listening, I was actually talking, and I had some, I was giving some audio notes on my own, more or less making field notes through my audio. And like I said, all this was during daytime. This was right around noontime. This was on the backside of the lake. And Cliff, was in an area where neither one of them, as soon as you go up on the hill, it was right where Fred told me I had to go check out. Mm-hmm. I followed this hollow all the way up. It was a creek, brook that was coming down.
You went back there?
Yep. I went up there. That was Thursday morning. I went up there. Go ahead, Fred.
What'd you think?
It was pretty up there. I'll tell you what, it's awesome. I found some right above me, right where I was sitting, because I climbed up the ridge. The ridge was pretty steep, but I climbed up there and I was able to sit up against this big rock. And probably another 20, 30 feet above me, the whole thing had rock ledges. The whole rock ledges were awesome. Some of them looked like they had some den-looking areas, crevices that were going in. Now I did some video of that. I took pictures of that as well. But like I said, in that area, when I was way up in there, that's when I was sitting. I heard the rock clacking and I had a thump. The thump, I don't know if that was maybe a tree that fell over, or possibly like a big, large rock that might have landed flat that gave off the thump. But the thump, all these noises of sound, they looked like, it seemed like they were coming from across on the opposite ridge, a lot further up. They were definitely distant, but I could hear them. When I got back to camp, I listened to my audio. My audio did not pick it up. Of course, keep in mind, I did not have my parabolic mic set up. I just had my regular voice recorder audio, digital audio, playing and recording.
Those parabolics really worked.
Those things.
Because y'all could hear things I couldn't.
Right. And then as far as tracks, there was a series of tracks that we came across. Of course, there was no doubt we had tons of deer tracks. They were everywhere. I have come across a few bear tracks. I was actually hoping to find a good enough, clear enough bear track to actually cast, to keep for my records. Could not find no bear tracks that were good enough to cast, but found a few turkey tracks. We definitely know there was turkey. We heard, Cliff knows we heard a turkey one night. Sounded like it was being murdered. But also there was, horse prints. I got to add that in there because we did come across a lot of horse prints because we know there was people horseback riding on some of the trails up there. And there was a few other tracks that were unidentified, and I couldn't specify the name of origin because they were not conclusive enough. Where a lot of them were the impressions in a lot of thick grass areas. Even in the soft soil, it was hard to make out anything. Um, and we definitely came across a lot of good structures, stick structures. Tracy, he he actually came across some really impressive ones. I actually wrote a brief summary, just explaining. Many structures of various sorts were discovered by the team members, and Tracy Arnold discovered this is how I wrote this, a very artistic-looking twine of trees, limbs, and sticks forming an ornamental structure-like design. Also, throughout the expedition, large clear X markings were found in various areas, and other forms of twisted and twined trees bent, snapped, and twisted. And then other findings, I took note of, found a large flat rock laying on a old dead stump that's been cut apparently many years ago. And then also another note is using the parabolic mics, a lot was picked up that was not heard with a plain ear, such as the movement of walking and limb breaking. One of our wails was heard real clear through the parabolic. That was also when Cliff, Kimmy, and Darren, they were sitting around the fire. I was sitting up by my tent within about 15, 20 feet from them. We had a loud wail go off. We also had other wails and howls that we had ones that went off, one in the west and then one directly to the east of us. So one was responding to the other. Let's see. And then most of the wails and howls were heard between 9 p.m. and midnight. Most nights from the camp while sitting around the campfire. And as far as any other finds, is there anything that I'm leaving out, Cliff or Tracy? While Tracy was there, because I know you guys shared and posted a few things that I might have left out.
Well, I thought the activity at the gifting area was interesting, which Tracy set that up to start with. And then you ended it up, so.
Yeah, the gifting area is very interesting. Absolutely. Our first gifting area, our first gift laid out at the gifting area. Tracy, if you want to go ahead and give the details of how we set that up, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was, can y'all hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I'm making sure. Go ahead. Brought this, particular log, because the shape of it, kind of like something of a sacrificial thing that they used to use back in the day, sacrifice, like a table.
Right. It was a nice slab of wood.
Had the nice bottom to it, real small, and went up real big at the top, with over 16 inches, 10 inches wide. And I carried this thing up in the woods. It was, and we took a trout that my son had caught that day, that Saturday. And we took that, and Kimmy and Darren, they give us a Rice Krispie treat to do on the offering thing. And we went up there to where there was a point where there was a lot of tree structures and the weaving was going on with the trees. And I noticed where there was these two trees in particular that were set at you look down the middle of them, you could see the same diameter off the right tree leaning up against the right pine tree and the left tree leaning up against the left pine tree. And you look down the middle, it was like a two-way road, one going straight and one going a little bit to the left. Well, back up to the top of the hill was a lot of acorns been to eat out. You had the pine cones. Looked like birds really been up in that area, scratching the ground a lot too. It just looked like a place where I was hungry and I was squatch. I didn't see. I would want to go there to eat me a couple of turkey, berries, or whatever. Anything that was there. It looked like it'd be a good place to put it. Plus, that thing was getting kind of heavy, so I didn't want to carry it no more. So we set it up there, and we kind of set the scene for you a little bit. We put this little log out and put the fish on it, cut it open, just so the odor would come out of it a little bit better. We cut the Rice Krispie treats in diamonds, kind of like the shape of diamonds, and kind of spaced them around 4 places around the trout, facing the trout, pointing at the trout. And we took the 2 other pine cones and built like a little star structure in behind the baiting area. And the way it was designed, you could put pine cones in the top of it. Just lay them across. And I thought, well, give it a variety. See if anything comes in, scratch up the ground real good, make it real soft around the tree. And I think it worked. From what I've seen, I mean, something came in and got the trout one day. Something came in and got the Rice Krispies. And then something later on came in and stole the whole jar of peanut butter from what I gave it. So, I mean, it was an awesome setup. Use it again or use it on the next one.
And I think the 2 sticks crossed at the base of the gift table was very interesting too when we went back the second time.
Oh yeah, those 2 sticks that were that were crossed there at the gifting area. Now let me tell you something. My son was playing with those exact sticks when we were up there, and he threw them down in 2 different areas. He recognized those sticks as the ones that he was playing with, and I asked him. I said, "Son, did you lay them down like that?" He said, "No." He said, "I threw one over there, threw one over there." Behind the tree. So
now, doesn't that tell you something?
Around the tree when we left there. They were watching us. They seen him playing with those sticks.
Yeah, I've had that happen before. Where they you throw a stick down or couple sticks different direction, he'll pick it up and make a design with it, let you know that they've been there.
Yeah. Wow.
I think next time I would add to the design and see if they added more.
Add a stick every day or something.
Or something to
food.
dress it up a little more. Plus more food, of course, yeah.
Well, I tell you what I did in one of my areas. I took and made a small teepee in one of my gifting areas. One area they tore it down. Another area they built one right next to it. So that was kind of odd. And this was in 2 different areas. Area 1 is where they tore it down at, and Area 2 is where they built one next to it, same size.
Now I would like to see that. My jaw would just drop, I think.
Well, the second area, I've taken Daniel in my second area. Well, actually, took him to the whole thing or parts of them, but back there where I had Daniel at one day, it was snowing. That's the area I made the little teepee at. But that's something else you can try too, just like make a little teepee and see what happens.
I'll have to. That just shows an amazing amount of intelligence, I think.
Well, we found rock stacks in certain areas. When I had Daniel there, because that's one thing Daniel was looking for was rock stacks. Yeah. And I think he's seen more than I did back in my area. Seen one tree that had another tree up in it, made it like a plus sign back in that area. That's that area where I got zapped that the second time.
Is that what you did on the video on about zapping?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that video. That's where I first started realizing that it was real and infrasound was something that.
Well, on my first area where I videoed them, Paul Halsley got 2. He tried to debunk them, but he couldn't. He got 2 sentences. When I said, "Y'all stole my jars," he picked up, "Uh-huh." And when I said, "Where y'all at?" he picked up, we are here. But I can't. He can explain it. I can't explain what it. But he picked them up on my video, and I never even knew about it. You know, so that's something else they do that really blew my mind. You know.
I had a question for Daniel and Cliff. When y'all were up there at the other end of the lake that night, did y'all have a parabolic on by any chance?
Daniel did.
Daniel did. All right. Right after Kimmy had done that really long, good howl, did y'all hear something over to the right of y'all on the other side of the lake where that knob is?
I did.
Well,
I think Daniel had his
that I heard
the other way.
You know, that night I got sick after eating a hamburger so late. Remember that?
Yeah.
That night, after I had gotten up and got to sit in the tent listening, I heard that exact same howl near the gifting area. And I've got the audio, but I haven't pulled it up there close enough to see if I don't know exactly what time it will be on the audio recorder. See when it happens. I'm kind of listening through it, trying to figure out where if the audio recorder even worked that night too.
Yeah, I haven't gone over my audio recordings yet. That'll take me a while. Cause I guess I got like 60 hours or more. I did all the video stuff first, but I got to go through the audio, and I hope I'll have some stuff there.
I think I have 42 hours to go. About 61. So it takes long.
It does.
Well, I got a question I want to ask you guys. Did any of y'all at any time during y'all's encounter, did y'all come across any type of smells whatsoever, like rotten meat, bad body odor, urine smell, or like a wet dog or anything like that?
Not while we were not when everyone was there. I mean, if they did, I didn't. Now there was one time when I was by myself when I was doing I think it was on Friday, if I'm not mistaken, because I went out hiking Friday for a while, and I did come into an area. I was hiking up a trail, and then as further I got up, it got thick, so I went off the trail and I came up. I was actually almost paralleling. Of course, keep in mind I was a lot further up behind where we had our incident, and that's when I came across some really interesting structures. Found some X's and some twined together trees, and they were like 3 to 4 inch round trees, very long trees too. And I have those photos. They're shared as well. They're on Facebook and as well as on a sideshow I have recently created on my YouTube account. But I did in one of those areas, I did come across a very distinct smell, and it wasn't a strong odor. It wasn't nothing that was foul, but it was very similar to urine. And I did come across that urine smell. But
was it the same kind of smell that when me and you first camped at, and we walked back to there, and I stopped you? Mm-hmm. That little intense smell, is that the same kind of smell that you got?
This one here was a little different. It was it was musty. It was a musty urine type smell. It was like the wind just. I mean, I caught it for a brief few seconds, and that's because it stopped me to smell and look around. I mean, I don't know how recent it might have been. If it was something that was just sticking around somewhere. But yeah, it was just for a brief second. The wind, my nose was able to pick it up from the wind. I wasn't sure exactly what direction it might have been coming from, but I did smell that though. Now it's funny. I want to rewind back and go back up to the gifting area. From Tracy's first setup, like I said, me and Cliff, we didn't go back up there till like 2 days later. Of course, we found the trout was completely gone. The Rice Krispie treats were laid out, and there were 3 of them in a row, and the 4th one was just off maybe a couple extra feet away, but they were still basically lined up in a row. I think that's when we first put out the peanut butter jar, And if I'm not mistaken, Cliff, is that when we put peanut butter on 2 of the squares and laid
Yes,
them back
two
up
of the
there?
4 squares.
Okay. Yeah, we put peanut butter on 2 of the Rice Krispie treat squares. All right, and then we left that alone for 2 days and went back up there. That's when we found the Rice Krispie treats, all of them completely gone, but the jar of peanut butter still there at that time. And then at this point, I went back up there by myself 2 days later. At this time I was alone, and this is what was interesting. The whole jar of peanut butter was completely gone. The block of wood was turned over, and right next to where the block was laying is when I found a track. I did post that picture. The track did display toes, but however, because there was a lot of pine needle litter on the ground in the area, part of it was hard to make out. Can't say for sure exactly what it was, if it was bear or squatch. But now at this time, I told Fred about this too when I went up there. The woods was completely silent. There was no wind, nothing, and something was getting my attention, probably in the far west direction. And I kept hearing this tree move. Looking down at my level, couldn't see none. But as I was looking up, I kept looking up, and as I was looking up, you could see the treetop, just kind of swaying a little bit, and it sounded like there was, you could hear the tree creaking and knocking. All right, and so, I'm looking around after noticing that, because there was no other trees moving. But that one, it was in the far west direction, probably well over 100 yards. But that's why I couldn't see it from eye level. But I could see the treetop. And then next, it's like I'm feeling this weird feeling like there's something or somebody around, and
You were being spied on.
something was going on. Because I tell you what, I had my hiking stick in one hand and I had my machete in another hand. Those are the only things I had on me at that time. And while all this was happening, from out of nowhere, very close to me, probably it had been, I don't know, a good 50 yards or so, or maybe a little more. But I heard this very loud and clear. I had a very loud crack or a break. It was either a tree or a very large limb breaking and snapping. And that had me standing on guard. I was looking all around, and I know Tracy and Cliff, the area when you're up in there is, I don't care how daytime it is, it's dark in that area in most areas because it's all shaded from the pines and everything, tall pine trees up there. But when I heard that loud crack, I was definitely looking all around. I was going in circles looking all around me. But it sounded like it was behind me and in the direction I came walking up. So I'm looking around and I'm not seeing nothing. And since I was by myself, I figured it's time for me to get back down to camp. So as soon as I heard that crack, it was, that had me on guard. I was, headed out of there. So, but like I said, when I found the peanut butter completely gone, and all before that happened, that was, quite the, experience and excitement. For those who don't know, it was a big, large jar of peanut butter. What do you say, Cliff? Was that about around a 6 inch round jar of peanut butter?
2 pounds.
Yeah, it was a pretty big round jar. So you got to keep in mind, if it was a bear that took it off, it had to have been a big bear to carry that thing in its mouth.
Yeah, because a bear would have sat down and tried to figure out how to open it.
That's the same thing I thought too. Exactly. You think it would have torn it open or ripped it or shredded it open somehow?
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Hey, I do got a question as far as your gifting.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hearing, Rice Krispies, peanut butter. A lot of researchers want to try, the goodies, you know what I mean, and the peanut butter and stuff like that. Something me and Dan discussed here at one time. We don't do gifting in an area,
Right.
But we were thinking about, if we do, I mean, have you guys ever put any thought into gifting something that they could use as a medicinal purpose, like some type of herb, garlic, stuff like that?
I've left catnip before, and it was gone.
Well, to be honest, I never actually had given that any thought. Perhaps like a gift as like maybe something like a specific type of tool or something. I mean, one thing
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I thought about
I
making
was
something
thinking,
ornamental, but
yeah, I mean, people's done that. You don't really hear of anybody, gifting anything, something they could use as some type of natural medicine, like garlic, your different herbs, stuff like that. So we was discussing, instead of leaving the donuts or, the whatever and all that, we would do something like, leave some fresh garlic or, something to that effect, that possibly they might be interested in. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know if, raccoons would mess with fresh garlic. That I don't know. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
it would cut back on all your different critters and different animals, because a lot of the animals, man, they're gonna go after that peanut butter. They're gonna go after them Rice Krispies,
Yeah.
But if you put something else there that, maybe these things use as a medicinal purpose,
right.
that would cut back on, a lot of the critters stealing your stuff. But
I mean, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. I mean, but as far
There's,
as experimenting, that's part of how we learn. But yeah, that's a good idea though.
yeah, there's a certain mint leaf that you can use that's a bug repellent. Keep like people use spray to keep bugs off of them, like mosquitoes
right,
and stuff. But there's a certain mint leaf that you can use that's a repellent to keep.
right,
And we
you
got
know.
it, and they're all over the mountains here. You just got to know what you're looking for.
Yeah, I
And
mean, you gotta kind of put a little ecology into the equation, but because certain areas, you have those mint type plants, and I mean, there's just so much stuff out there that's edible. I mean, you just got to know what to look for, and one thing that we try to keep an eye on, as in what kind of plants or vegetation type stuff that is in an area, because you really don't want to put something, if you're gonna set something out, you really don't want to put something that's not native to that area. You know what I mean?
all
Because
right, now, all right, now here in Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley, we got an abundant amount of sassafras trees, and
yeah.
the Indians around here would use the sassafras to either make a tea or use as a toothbrush
Mhm.
and everything. And I've noticed in some of my areas that I've seen a lot of sassafras trees ripped out of the ground and the roots were ripped off. That's,
Mhm.
and that's something else that's abundant. It's natural too, because sassafras is what they made soda pop for kids back in the old days.
Right.
And the Indians used it here, and I still use it to make tea and stuff like that, but you can use it for like a toothbrush, use it as a mouth freshener. Same way as like with the mountain turkey berries, little red berries that are sweet, got a mint taste to it. I've left them, I've left sassafras, and they were gone. And I have had a mint leaf left for me one time, which was a bug repellent too.
Hmm.
But sassafras is good in this area. And when I seen those trees, the small trees that were ripped out of the ground, and the roots weren't on them. So that told me something right there. You know, and that's something we're abundant with around here. And you got natural mushrooms. So like there's certain type of mushrooms that grow on the black oak trees. You could you find these like big white clusters of mushrooms on the side of oak trees. Well, you got your red oak, your black oak, and your white oak. The black oak, you could take that mushroom and eat it. You can make spaghetti. You can make it for mushrooms for your spaghetti or something like that. Plus, it's got a medicinal purpose of getting rid of a stomach ache. Now squash can probably eat it straight out, but we would have to boil it and then drink it, and it would get rid of, like say, a sire's stomach or something like that. It's just something, stuff like that we can try around here too.
Yeah, we just try to think outside the box as much as we can. I mean, like I say, there's many people have tried many different things, but usually it's, what people try is the same as what other people do, you know what I mean? So we try to think outside the box a little bit. I guess maybe, we're not scientists, we're not anything close to that, but, we try to base our research more on the scientific side as possible. We do got Dr. Meldrum, he is a consultant for us, and we also have Rand Cartwright. He is a anthropologist, paleoanthropologist. I mean, he used to work for the government, so he is an advisor for us too. He comes up with some pretty interesting stuff. So we try to think outside the box. You know what I mean? We try not to do what everybody else does. Just for example, like just say trail cams, for example. A lot of people, they walk right up to the tree and they stick it on there about 6 foot, from the ground, and it's right on the side of the tree. We like to, if at all possible, we instead of going to an easy access area, like a lot of people they go to an easy access area and pop a trail cam up. We kind of want to get into an area that's a little harder to get into, and if we can get that trail cam up, roughly 20 feet in the air and aim it down, it's just like, if you kind of think about it, if they can see the flash, okay, if it's coming from above, maybe possibly they're thinking it's, like lightning, a Mother Nature type thing, if it's coming from above them. You know what I mean?
Well, being in the mountainous region, we got a lot of guys who put game cameras up for to see what deer come by during hunting season. And my question is, and I've talked to Daniel about it, and I've talked to everybody about it, number one, I know they know what a camera is, but as far as the infrared game cameras, can they sense it? Do you think they can sense it, even though you got so many feet in there?
That's a good question that Fred's asking, because a lot of people do bring that up. What's your opinion on that, Paul? Because a lot of people say they could see it, like unlike all the other animals. And the other thing is, what we can't hear, they can hear, as far as the click in the camera. Yeah, I don't know. What's your theory on that?
Any type of electronic will put out some type of noise, whether we can hear it or not.
Right.
There's always, some type of hum or some type of low audible signal. I know if they can hear that, they seem to tend to shy away from trail cams, but that's always a possibility, and then as far as the flash, we don't know if they can actually see the flash or not. they say deer can't see the flash, but how many photos have you seen taken with a trail cam that the deer's staring right at it? You know what I mean? So,
that guy down in Florida, Fango, whatever his name is, one hunting the skunk ape down there.
Fasano.
Yeah, he did a couple of years ago. He did a experiment with 3 different game cameras. All of them, when it flashed, the animals turned and looked right dead at the camera every time. Even when a deer walking by, he'll stop and turn his head and look right at the camera when it flashed. But,
Yeah, I mean, I've actually walked in front of my trail camera at, it wasn't at night, but it was during the day. And, what I like to do is, after you set up a trail camera, you turn it on, you mount it, whatever, it takes, roughly 30 seconds before it is ready to, take pictures or video or whatever you want. I usually like to walk back and forth in front of it a few times. And if you look real close, you can kind of see the infrared lights light up. I mean, you can't actually see the flash itself. And the reason that I do that is if you set your trail cam up in a certain area, just say you set it up, walked away. Well, if something came in front of that, you don't know, if there's nothing on the camera, something did walk in front of it, you don't know if that trail camera was working or not. But if you make a few passes after you get it set up, and then you check your trail cam, if you're not on there, it wasn't working. You didn't catch anything because it wasn't working. But if if it took your picture, it was working. Just nothing happened to go in front of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always like to do that. So that way if it caught you, it's been working. Because there actually has been a couple times where I did that and then I'd leave it up for a week or whatever, and then I would check my card and there would be nothing on it. Well, I know I walked in front of that thing 3 or 4 times, so evidently it wasn't working.
What do you think of the Cuddy back game camera?
What is it?
The Cuddy back game camera.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Is that the one? Is that the one? Are you referring to the one that's not supposed to give off any type of flash?
No. This one right here. Every step you make, it'll take your picture, and when you watch it, it'll make it look like you're regularly walking. But what it's doing is taking individual flashes. If you don't,
it's taking.
Yeah, a lot of hunters use them now.
Well, yeah. It's like a lot of the game cameras, not necessarily the real cheap ones you can go buy for $50 or whatever, but a lot of the cameras, the game cams, you can set them up to take like mine, it'll take like 5 or 6 pictures a second once it's triggered.
Yeah.
So it actually kind of looks like a movie, but it's not. They're all individual pictures.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. It'll take multiple pictures every second.
What brand do you use?
It's you had to ask me that. Doggone it. Starts with a B.
Bushnell.
Yeah, Bushnell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you could say mine's one of the cheap ones. I mean, mine's a Moultrie. It's the D5 model.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's a good one. It was an $80, game cam. I mean, Tracy actually uses the same exact one. I was surprised to see his. When I first saw his on one of his videos, I was like, "You use the same one I got." But I mean, mine actually works real good. I mean, I've had it out during the expedition. I picked up a few, deer on it. The first time I set it out was down below the ridge where we set the gifting area. I had like 3 deer on it the first time, and then in the area I set it up after we had our our little encounter that we'll start discussing here. After we had that and did our daytime investigation of that area, I actually ended up setting it out there, and of course, it was real windy that day when I set it out. I picked up a lot of the same trees. I guess the trees move and set the sensor off. But then I had a real nice doe that got picked up on it. Now, she was like standing dead broadside, looking in the opposite direction, like something had got her attention. But I mean, that camera, it takes very good pictures, both daytime and night, and the video as well, because I had it set on video not far from camp.
Well, we had that. Well, we had that. That one night, me and you camped about the second time. Something tripped that camera that night.
Yeah, about 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But there was nothing in that, nothing I can make out because I played around with the software I have, and I mean, no matter what I did, I could not make any type of animals or nothing in there. Perhaps something had to go by it to set it off because I had it set up at least a good 7 feet on the tree.
Yeah.
In one area, so. But as far as our incident, I thought we'd get into that as far as our encounter, because I had a gentleman ask about encounters, so I think we're going to go ahead and get into that. To start off with, when it was me, Cliff, we were all teamed up, all 6 of us. We had Kimmy and Darren. They were at the beginning of the lake. They were down by the boat ramp of the lake, sitting on a bench. Then it was Tracy and Elijah. They were set up probably on the second, I guess about the second dock, little dock up. And they were fishing. Elijah had his pole out fishing, and then two further docks up was me and Cliff. And we all had radio communication. Both me and Tracy, we both had our night vision, and we also had our parabolic mics out. And as we looked around and we were trying to view around, look around. I wasn't picking nothing up off the parabolic mic. So I radioed down to Kimmy. Kimmy is our, I kind of designated her as our Bigfoot vocalizer, and she does a real good job. She's, I was very impressed with her vocals. So I told Kimmy, I said, Kimmy, give us a vocal, and then everyone make sure you stop and listen afterwards. And of course, her vocal sounded across the whole lake. I mean, keep in mind, we're in a very big area, and after her vocalization went off is when I started picking up sounds and movement up behind us on the ridge behind us, and
in your parabolic.
Yeah, exactly, through the parabolic, and I had radioed down to Tracy. I said, Tracy, I'm hearing walking and some limb breaking. And then a few minutes later, after he was listening, I guess he started picking stuff up too, down his way. Keep in mind, we were quite a ways apart. So, and then it almost seemed like it kind of got quiet here and there. I said, all right, Kimmy, give us another one. So she did, and on and off, we kept hearing more sounds, more walking, more limb breaking way up on the ridge behind us. And then at some point on my end, I had I think it was either a grunt or at first it almost sounded like somebody coughed. So I had to stop and ask everybody on the radio. I said, did anybody cough? They were like, no, not us, not us, not us. I said, well, I just had a grunt or something. I just picked up a grunt or like a "arr" type sound. I was like, it really stood out. And so I was like, we got something up there. We knew something was in the area. And then at that point, we did another vocalization. Kimmy gave us another one. And we kept hearing the same similar walking and, some snaps here and there. And after, I don't know, what do you guys say about roughly a good hour gone by? I think we all started to meet up because Tracy, I believe Tracy and Elijah, they started feeling a little, what's that?
We saw the red eye shine.
That's right. Go ahead with that. Yeah.
Observation. It was, and get this. I mean, the Bushnell night vision. I had that thing out looking around for 20 minutes. Battery was fresh in it, and as soon as You know, Elijah said, Elijah, look up on the hill right there. And he looks up and he said, it's eyes. They're red. They're red, Dad. And I'm like, yeah, they're looking right at us. And about that time, they went blink, blink, and then they were gone. But the whole time I tried to get the Bushnell to work after that, I'd get it up to where I was up on the hill with it, and it would go like a black and white TV. It would go, shh. It wouldn't do nothing. It wouldn't do nothing. I'd bring it back down. It would work side to side. Work on these little frogs around it, you know. But every time I put it up, it wouldn't do nothing but snow. And it was gone. It went to Kimmy and Dan.
Yeah, because I mean, to speak on their behalf, since they can't be here. I mean, if I recall, they were sharing some information that they kept hearing something real close to them as well. I don't know. Kimmy said she was hearing things closer to them. I'm not sure. I can't recall if she thought she heard or saw something. But I know she was hearing things real close to them, which I think was just on the other side of the creek, you know, where the river feeds into the lake. But then at that point, I think after you guys had the eye shine there from your location, we all decided to regroup and meet back at the beginning of the lake. And then that's when we all started slowly walking back up the roadway from the lake, headed back out to the main road. And that's where, as we were slowly walking up, you know, we had our headlamps on. Tracy had his parabolic mic on and listening as we were walking. You know, we were taking our time going up. You know, I kept kind of walking ahead. I was pretty much ahead of everybody, you know, and I kept looking at both sides of the road, picking up trying to look for eye shine. And there was one set of eye shine that we came across, and it was probably the first one. I don't know. I think it was one of the first set of eye shine we saw. Tracy came over to try to look for it, and I think what it was, because it looked very large. I think it was the angle. I think it was a deer because it was like a bluish tint. I think it was the way it was broadside, and I was catching both eyes just in a weird angle. And because I saw it at first, when I first noticed it, I was trying to look. I thought it was a light through the woods out to the other road, but we had quite some ways we even came up to that main road. But then when I started moving up and down and blink, the head was bobbing. So I think whatever it was walking up and down the hilly ground there. But we couldn't make nothing out of that. We didn't see nothing. Tracy thought he saw part of it walk away, but I'm just coming to the conclusion. I think all that was a deer. I could be wrong, but
because when you see them, usually it is a deer. You don't see a Sasquatch quite like that in the dark.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to pick up a deer with a light on it. You can pick it up fairly.
Oh yeah.
But you could a Sasquatch because they blend in so much better than a deer, I believe.
Because they're usually darker. So.
It was parallel. It wasn't straight away from us. It was more walking the left.
Right.
So, of course, this other thing we encountered was.
Yeah, the next thing is what was really interesting. As kept walking up within I don't know, what do you say, from that first set of eye shine I saw. What was it, about a couple minutes after that? Between 2 and 5 minutes after that, we kept walking a little further up in the road, and my headlamp happened to catch some really large, piercing, yellow, glowing eyes, and I hauled back to everybody. I kept pointing right at it. It was like piercing, looking right at me. I said, "Look, we got eye shine right here, eye shine." Tracy comes up, and as soon as he comes up, is that a freaking panther or a cougar? I was like, I didn't know what to think at first because I didn't realize. I didn't realize the ground was much lower than we were up on high ground. It was much lower than us. That's where everyone else came up there, and we started seeing all the activity go on. So, if you guys want to share in the details on how all this went about, all the eye movement we saw, the behavior they were displaying, the curiosity, I mean, everywhere from the head turning, the eye blinking, the moving side to side, it was a lot of interesting stuff that was happening here while we all 6 of us witnessed this, and at that one point, I did not know Cliff was recording, trying to get it captured on film,
Yeah.
which, I think we could all agree that it was disappointing that we didn't get, the video didn't get to see what we were seeing. I mean, it definitely portrayed, showed our behavior and our excitement, but I mean,
That was
as far
only
as Tracy or Cliff,
of what I captured on video.
right?
But I think everybody probably had a different viewpoint because we were standing a little bit different, and it appeared to be trying to hide its eyes part of the time, moving behind a tree, and so maybe when somebody could see it, somebody else couldn't. But from what I saw, it was like these 2 great big yellow greenish glowing eyes that were so bright, reflecting the headlamp. They looked like they were beaming light out on their own.
Exactly. That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
And when I first saw it, it was standing there staring at us.
Mm-hmm. And it was definitely
side to side,
Mm-hmm.
And then it started blinking, and I lost it. And when I moved up behind Darren is when I really saw it staring at us, just staring right at us while we were staring at it.
Yeah, and if you notice, everybody on the film, when
That's right.
Darren went in front of us, Darren was actually attempting to get real close to it, and then come to find out he stopped because I guess he was waiting on everyone else to come up behind him. And as soon as he thought no one else was coming behind him, he said, "The hell with this." Yeah.
Well, I want to ask Elijah something. I want to ask Elijah something.
Yeah.
Elijah.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think when you saw them eyeballs for the first time? What was the first thing that crossed your mind?
For the first few seconds, I thought it was like a mountain lion or something.
Yeah,
but
we got them up there.
Yeah. Then, after a few seconds, how big they were, I pretty much knew it wasn't nothing except a Sasquatch.
How'd you feel?
Most terrified I ever been, but a little excited.
Yeah. It was definitely excitement for I could say for all of us. I know it. I mean, but what was more exciting about it was, we noticed they got behind these bushes, and the bushes, if you see during the daytime, they're not fully thick coated bushes. You could see behind them, but the thing is, keep in mind this is around between 12 and 12:30 at night. I mean, it's after midnight. So when they move behind the bushes are between 5 and 6 feet tall. All right. And I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but I know I might have mentioned it as somewhere along the way. You can see the eye shine above the tree line, above the bushes, and you can see it raising up. I mean, it was like raising up, and then at some point you can see the head turn to the. Actually, if you're in the position of the object, it was moving to the left. To its left. We saw the blinking of the eyes. We saw it turn a couple times. Like Cliff mentioned, we saw it. It was kind of doing one of these numbers. Side to side movement, like kind of like checking us out.
The funny thing about its eyes when it was going, it was covering. Its head was covering 4 feet of ground side to side, and its eyes were staying exactly level.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was getting me? You know how we do. We're going you got this view, you got this view. This was exactly straight across. I mean, just straight across 4 foot. I mean,
right.
I thought it was actually walking them back and forth, but then I got to think like it's coming straight back to center, right where it started. Right.
They do that.
The other thing I noticed, when it turned its head and moved, you could see it moving to the side. It didn't go up and down. It stayed when it was moving, like if it was walking. It kept one level of height, And then, I mean, it blinked. I don't know how many times it blinked. I mean, like when I first noticed it up close, when we first spotted the eye shine, when it was like, I don't know, I'm estimating 15, 20 feet from the roadway that we were standing on. Those big, large, yellow piercing eyes were looking dead at us, and when I saw him blink, I didn't know. I mean, like I said, I thought it was a cougar or panther. You know, that's one thing. The first things I said to Tracy or whoever came up behind me. You know, I didn't know what to think. I mean, till we all witnessed the other behavior. You know.
And once we seen the other behavior, we knew exactly what we were looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing was just as curious about us as we was about it. It didn't leave. We had like a 5 or 6 minute encounter with this thing.
And
that's good. That's
now, correct me if I'm wrong. There was another set of eye shine there too, but it was sitting lower.
When this thing looked to the right, and then it slowly looked back at us. If you'll notice, it wasn't looking at us. We were seeing the hourglass, but it was looking down. And when it got straight, whenever this thing was that was looking at us, when looked back up at us, this other thing popped up below it, maybe about 3 feet shy. It's like, then it
had a juvie.
Went on by.
You had a juvie.
Yeah, it did.
Oh, you lucky
Must
dog.
have been like Tracy said. It did look to the right, and it looked down when it looked to the right, and then it would look back up at us. It did that. I saw it 2 times clearly, and I know it did it more than that.
Yeah. Well, then y'all must have had 2 juveniles there with a couple of adults.
Yeah, I got cold chills now thinking about it.
Well, the thing about it is, you know, I knew that. See, there's a family group up there, and they got 2, maybe 3 juveniles in the group in that area. Because when me and my brothers up there, I got a red eye shine, and I know the eye shine was like outside of our skulls, about this wide, apart from each other, at the 3rd pier, right behind you, going up that ridge. And when I saw him, when I saw them eyes, he was going over the ridge, leaving. But I do know there's 2, maybe 3 juveniles in that area right there. So if y'all saw him, y'all lucky.
Now, did anybody notice the first eyes we saw were red? It was pitch dark, hardly no light at all except for on the fishing pole that he was using. And it was pitch dark when we saw the eye shine was red.
Yeah, I remember when you were on the radio. You were giving us notice when you were seeing that too. So,
all right. Now, what's to say? I mean, y'all had some awfully bright lights. Mine was broke where Elijah sat on it earlier, but we were trying to fix it and it fell down on my face. But, do you think that these things actually give off different eye shine from the?
Hold on, Tracy. You just went mute.
Now, I've seen red eyes and I've seen green eyes. And I've seen yellow eyes.
Now, I think before he got cut off, muted, I don't know what happened to his audio, but I think what he was asking is, do we think it's possible that from different lighting, do their eyes give off different color? Which I believe
I've heard that was genetic.
Yeah.
Remember, I was telling y'all when I was up there at the camp, I was saying use either a red, yellow, or blue colored lens, which takes the UV out, UV rays out of the light. If you do that'll take and give you a more positive natural color eye shine.
Right.
Like the yellow and red are about the 2 popular colors. Then you got what they call an amber green that we use for coyote hunt down here. That will take the UV rays out, and they'll still approach you. But if you use a regular flashlight, to them it's like a deer in the headlight look. They'll stop. But if you use a color lens and they're coming to approach you, they'll keep on coming.
You know, when it comes to the different color eye shine, in the back of the eye, there's that tapetum lucidum. It's a layer of tissue in the back of the eye that when the light is actually coming into the eye
and reflecting,
that layer reflects that same light back out. So you've got light coming in and being reflected back out.
Right.
It depends on that layer behind the eye is what depends on what color you are actually seeing.
Exactly.
Just for example, an owl and a deer,
Mhm.
you're going to have two different colors, and it's because of that layer behind that eye, that tissue layer, that reflects that light back out. So,
Right.
that's how you get the different colors.
Yeah.
Now.
Personally, I've only ever seen the red myself, but
Mhm.
people say they've seen, greenish color, blue, a whitish color. They report all different kind of colors. So,
Right. Now, one thing I did just for the heck of it and curiosity, I did a poll in a couple groups. I know Fred's probably familiar with it, but as far as animals with yellow eye shine, and a lot of people got, I got a lot of responses. People adding in owls, coyotes, wolves, a lot of common animals. Um, and then no one was saying bears. But now, thing is, I did have a few people that are, pretty much not on Facebook that I shared some information with. And it's like, oh, well, you encountered bears. Those were bears, possibly with cubs. I said, but they say, well, in that area, bears are usually commonly, their height standing up about 5, 6 feet tall. Apparently, you encountered a very large bear. Well, the thing is, apparently these people don't know too much about bears and stuff because I looked into the bears. Bears, some bears, as far as black bears, do almost have a yellow color eye, but they do not give off the light like these animals were. And to clear the record, if anyone else feels anything different or feels the same, I don't know. Now, please feel free to share. But I know for a fact, and I am positive that we were not encountering bears by any way, shape, or form. Um, Now I've heard bears will hang around, you know, but then again, no. From what I understand about bears, a lot of times they are very skittish unless they feel threatened. I think for one thing, we would have heard a growl for us to get lost, or we would have been charged, or one or the other. But
All right.
on the most part, I think they would have got the heck out of there if they were definitely bears. So
All right. Think about this, Daniel.
yeah,
Times me and you was up there. You saw them two bears. All right. You got
yeah,
right now. This time of year. All right. During hunting season, the last thing to go out is running bear dogs.
hmm
There ain't gonna be no bear in the area. Besides, from what you've seen and what I've seen, as soon as them bears heard or seen us, they was a
they were
hunting
out of
out
there.
fast.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another thing I would think about. I mean, a lot of other people that are familiar with bears say the same thing. Bears would have got the hell out of there if that was a situation. So I mean, I feel confident. I know they were not bears, and I feel honestly, and I think Cliff and Elijah and Tracy could, agree on this that we no doubt encountered squatches, and
I wasn't
and
there,
they
and I
did
know you.
right. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
because
noticed one thing too about the eye blinking. Some of it
yeah,
seemed to be directly timed with some of our comments.
right.
Yep.
Like somebody would say something, that's when it would blink.
Kind of like almost like they. I don't want to say they
Understood.
understood us, but it's like maybe perhaps because if you listen on the video that Cliff did, I know Tracy was giving off a few vocals, and I was doing a few whoops and howls, and
Uh-huh.
I was going whoop whoop. I was trying to get some attention or get some kind of behavior out of them, but they remained silent, but their behavior and their actions were definitely just like appearing that they were very curious, and
Yeah,
I just want.
I think what Tracy was trying to say when he said pull the fret, I think Tracy was trying to say Dodi Tishu Dewa Oshig Watsu.
Hey,
But he
Fred,
said they ho.
Hey, I'm sorry. I used the wrong dialect, and I apologize to the Squats or whatever I said.
I'm gonna rag you to death till I teach you.
and if you hear on the video, at one point I said how. I was trying to trying to communicate Indian style. But we were having fun. I mean, we were excited. We were having fun, and at some point, Tracy even called out, "Hey, Sam."
Yeah. Hey,
I don't,
Sam.
I don't know what's up with Sam. Maybe he thought one of them. He was.
I thought the thing Sam came from. My wife's uncle passed away with ALS.
Right.
Not this past year, but year before. He gave me 2 encounters on paper. He couldn't speak. He was dying on his deathbed.
Right.
And in Ground Zero is where he had his encounters. And I promised that side of the family that the first Sasquatch that I ever come across, met, or got a good picture of, I'd call him Sam.
Oh, okay.
So that was for Sam. That was for my wife's Uncle Sam.
Well, that's good.
Well, I tell you what, from here on out, we'll dedicate that group to that. We'll call them the Sam Clan, or the Sam Group, or not better yet, the Sam's Club. How's that?
Are you?
I know. And then after all this, that we experienced all this, we all went back to camp. After we finally made it back. I know we were all excited. You know, keep in mind here it is probably about a little after 1 o'clock in the morning, and we were all discussing what we were seeing and witnessed, and we were all confirming everything that we saw, and we all saw the same thing. And I mean, I guess we could all agree that we knew what we saw, correct? I mean,
that's right.
Yeah.
I wasn't there, but I know y'all did have an encounter.
Mm-hmm.
I know y'all did.
And I'm willing to, maybe in the near, in somewhere down the road, probably get another group, plan another expedition in that area again someday. Perhaps put in some, be a little bit better situated, maybe think and plan ahead and work that area a little bit better next time, do more nighttime investigations. A lot of people go out investigating. A lot of people do a lot of daytime stuff, which daytime's good for finding physical evidence, structures and maybe tracks. But I think nighttime is apparently the best to find live activity. So, I think maybe that's something we got to work on, and like I said, this is our first annual expedition, and I know from what we've done and learned from this, we will take from it, and improve as we go. Because I mean, everything we do is a learning experience. I mean, we all learn from something. I knew it wasn't. Nothing's gonna be perfect. Nothing will never be perfect. We gotta take from it and just kind of come up and be smart and figure out how we can get better at it, as a group. I mean, but there's no doubt we had fun doing it. That's for sure. I mean, that's what it's all about too. So, but
I want to tell you something that happened to my son. He got sick, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That same night, right?
Yeah. This boy here. You want to tell him about how sore you are? His every muscle in his body tensed up and was shaking. That's how terrified he got.
Man, it must have zapped the crap out of him.
We were going to have to carry him back. But I think Monday, after we got back, back home after the ride and everything, I don't think he moved much that day. I mean, he was sore as feet for a couple of days. This thing put the fear of God in him. I mean, the witnessing of him being around it and getting zapped the way he did.
Yeah, I tell you, it ain't fun. It's not fun being zapped.
Yep.
I can tell you that. It's not fun. It does not feel good.
Now, besides Tracy and Elijah, I know you two, and then also Kimmy, and I think even Darren said he felt something too. Kimmy kept saying how she was feeling like nauseous, her head was hurting and stuff. Now, during all of this was going on, I know me and Cliff at that time, we didn't feel anything at that point. I feel nothing. because as far as we were walking back and headed back to camp after all this, I don't know, maybe it's because I was excited, but there was, I guess, a tension about me. But it's like as soon as we got up around the curve and got close to the camp, I don't know, all of a sudden this like feeling of comfort and relaxation just came upon me. I was like, I don't know. So maybe I didn't realize I was feeling like all this extra tension and stuff. But I mean, I know I was excited. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I just felt very relaxed, and calm. But
I think everybody takes it in a different way. Such as you take it as exciting. Some people take it as fear. Some people take it as a little of both. I was excited and kind of scared at the same time, only for the fact that I had to protect this fella here from whatever the heck we were looking at.
Right.
And hoping that he could outrun my butt.
Well, one thing I was thinking, these creatures, I think they, I don't know. I mean, this is just a theory. I think maybe perhaps they noticed that we had a juvenile with us, and perhaps maybe even a female with us as well. So those are just theories that may have a role play, and that they were just keeping their distance. We noticed how close the one was, real close to the road, about 15, 20 feet from us when we first noticed it. But as they moved back with, around the bush line, I think they were just taking caution. I mean, and we were excited and being stupid enough to get as close as we did, not realizing, hey, we're just excited. None of us was thinking about what was going on. We were just more or less struck, stunned by, wow, look at what we got going on here, and like, and me and Tracy, we could have got better looks at these creatures, but he had his night vision, I had my night vision, and we didn't even think about pulling it out. We talked about that when we got back to camp. I mean, it's like, man, we could have pulled him out, we could have seen him, because our night vision would have picked up that distance real clear.
Yeah.
But
even my cell phone would have picked up something.
Right.
With the high beam of light that comes off of it.
Well, I'll tell y'all.
Nothing will.
I'll tell you. I'm having an expedition from July 20th. From July 10th to the 20th. So if y'all want to do the other half of the George Washington National Forest in between Daniel's expeditions, we can do that. See the ones in my area. And I know of 3 clans right now that are in my area, and I do know that they're very active at nighttime. And they do run the areas that we're camping in and everything. So
yeah, 'cause you had the one gentleman down from Maryland last year, right? That was when May of last year, was it?
No, it's February.
Oh, February. Okay.
Yeah, we had those 2 come in within 60 foot of the camp.
Mm.
The guy was with him by come out of his skin. He believes in them now.
Yeah, because he was a skeptic or not really sure when he came down.
Yeah, but because we heard. I mean, I'm sitting there right behind the fire, and I'm looking right directly at them, but I couldn't see them because the fire was in front of me. But we heard a big whoop, and then shattering. Then we heard one run to the left, one run to the right. And I just sat there. I knew what they were doing because they run deer through there. Because in my area, we got a ton of freaking deer. So that's what they run. They're running all through the woods and everything at nighttime. I've had the same thing in '86 when I had that female come out in front of us. She screamed at us, she yelled at us, she threw rocks at us, she broke sticks, and then she hauled ass in front of us. That's twice I done had. Well, actually, I done had 1, 2, 3. I had 3 squads come out in front of me already in this one area. So in between Daniel's next expedition, come down to my area and we can do this half of the other half of George Washington National Forest. In my area, we're right off the Parkway.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Daniel had fun when we was in there.
Oh yeah,
it was a blast.
Hey, well, I got Corey. let's see if I'm saying his name right. Corey O'Leary. You know, when we were talking about the feeling of being stunned, or you know, in with Elijah's situation, it says in a way, could it be considered a form of buck fever? And then when you get that stunned feeling during an encounter, so do you guys think that you know possibly like a type of buck fever, like you mentioned?
No, it's two different things, man. Buck fever, you get excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that before because I mean, my heart was up in my throat.
Yeah,
I couldn't,
exactly.
I couldn't breathe. I mean, my heart was pounding. I was excited. I was up in a tree stand. I was all by myself, and I had this nice 8-point buck, you know, with a nice heavy build, coming walking right at me. This was probably about 3 years ago, and I was like, of course, first time I ever get in the situation to have a buck come at me, you know, and get in the position to shoot one. Of course, the buck fever kicks in, and I mean, it had to happen sooner or later. I mean, when it happened, yeah, I told Dad about it as soon as I climbed down out of the tree stand and missed the SOB, and I was telling Dad about it. I was 2 hours away from it, at the time, and Dad's like, "Well, that's good. You needed that. You had to get that out of your system." Yeah, but then when's my next opportunity then?
But
But,
buck, like I say, buck fever and what Elijah went through is like two totally different. They're like day and night.
right.
Because the way I'm hearing it, the way it seemed to me from what Elijah's saying is he was excited, but he was kind of like they kind of like zoomed in on him because he was the youngest one there, or he was the smallest one there. So they concentrated on him at that point, and they just kind of like it's kind of like being zapped to a point, but not being zapped. And he got that anxiety that they probably caught on. That's probably what made his muscles stiff. It's one thing I can think of. Did that sound about right, Elijah?
About right, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right on it, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there's different forms of, like with me, I get migraines on each side of my head. Daniel got one in his right
Over in my
temple.
temple, yeah.
Yeah, over in his temple. I've gotten nauseated. I felt like I had a stomach flu. I even had a video where I'm talking to it, and I get zapped when I'm talking. You can see the expression change in my face.
Mm-hmm.
Some people they freeze up. It's some people feel like they touch an electric fence. It goes from one side of the body to the other. There's no exact way to say how the squat affects you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it affects different people differently. And for me, it's like panic attacks. And then when it's over, it's just like it all at once. A switch being thrown, and it's over. You calm just all at once.
Exactly.
Now, I was in a discussion. Well, it was kind of like under comments and stuff under something. And I had one person. They're actually not in this country, but they asked a question, and they asked, "Do primates, are referring to our known primates? Do known primates have or use or have infrasound?" And because it was actually, it was something that Tracy had said, and that's why they questioned that. And I actually shared a couple links with them because they wanted to know, is there solid proof or solid evidence of that. There was a couple quick and easy links I found, and I shared them under the comments. But actually, one was actually from the BFRO. It was on one of their blogs. I used that, and there was another one. I can't really remember exactly what it was, but of course, these here were just more or less theory based. They weren't scientific. They weren't, I guess, put in writing, written in stone as far as being for sure or solid, as you could say. But this is something I've looked into, and I haven't looked enough apparently to say yes, they do for sure. But yeah, I think there's a possibility because we know a lot of other animals do use infrasound. I mean, I'm not just talking about the whales and stuff in the ocean, but as far as we know, elephants do. But as far as primates, they're very our known primates. We know they're very gifted animals. They're smart, intelligent, and they have great abilities. Um, but something like a Sasquatch, I don't know, in my opinion, and I'm sure you guys could feel the same about it. I mean, we know. I mean, me personally, I think they're a form of primate, but not specified exactly what kind. But then again, you got people thinking they're some form of human relative. Regardless of what they are, either way, I mean, they most definitely show a great deal of intelligence, and I don't think we should underestimate their abilities. But but back to the infrasound thing, as far as known primates, what's y'all's theory on that? I mean, what you guys believe that they do have some kind of infrasound? Because one thing I shared with somebody else, like, uh, as far as Sasquatch goes, I believe it's a type of infrasound called ultrasonic. Uh, where it's like their vocalizations, or when they're communicating, even though we may not hear it, it's penetrating. It's like it's penetrating our minds. Like it's like a sound wave that we don't hear it, but we feel it hitting us. You know what I mean?
Kind of like
So
a frequency.
right, exactly. That's exactly how I'm trying to get to. So I mean, yeah. So does that make sense? I mean, like a sound wave of pressure knocking against our bodies, but like you were
Just lower
talking,
hearing
Fred.
threshold.
Yeah, and that's part. Like Fred was saying, everyone's affected differently. I mean, the migraines or the electric shock feeling. I mean, so it, all this it seems very common, and it's coming about more and more. People are starting to speak about it more and more. So I don't know. I mean, I'm starting to believe there's got to be some truth behind it. So
You take how big the elephant's foot is and how much it weighs on the ground. That's where it uses this infrasound through the ground waves.
yeah,
So you take a Sasquatch weighs 600 to 1,000 pounds, 600 to 1,000 pounds, and its feet is buried in the ground, and it's on the other hill from you, or on the other side of the hill from you. I mean, that's a very good possibility. It could be using the ground, because usually when I get a funny feeling like I've been washed, it comes from my feet, and it works its way all the way up my spine into my head. So, you start getting that tingling feeling in your spine, and then end up on the back of the neck, and then you get the head, and then it goes to your head. It's kind of like it runs through your whole body.
Yep.
It could be something similar to an elephant. I mean, I'm not a scientist, and I didn't stay at Holiday Inn Express last night. I really can't tell you.
yeah.
But, I mean, if we would find one of these things, and maybe get a big enough tranquilizer, knock his butt out, meet the press at the Walmart, and get it on the news, and get a big enough cage to keep it in, and evaluate what it does, and then let it go.
Do you think we have anything strong enough to hold something that big and massive and strong?
You need something that's strong enough to hold King Kong in. Let's put it that way.
That's the bottom line. I mean, the strength of these creatures, the way I'm seeing them, they an 8-footer could probably take a KW tractor and flip it on its side by itself.
Right.
That's strong.
Yep.
But when you get one in front of you, it's the pure what's that word called? It's intimidation of just the size of it that blows your mind. Like with me, I seen them, and I had one in front of me, and just the sheer size of it totally scrambled my brain. They're huge.
Oh yeah. Well, I got to jump in because we're actually limited on time for the length I set this for. I need to come to a close here, and just a couple brief announcements. For one thing, we already have next year's event planned out. Um, it's going to be in West Virginia next year. West Virginia of 2015, June 20th through the 27th, again of 2015, West Virginia. The actual location is going to be at West Stump's backyard. He has a field in his backyard, and he's the one. He's actually brought. It was his idea, actually. He said he's got a field in his backyard, and he's
All right.
real close to the river. Uh, because he was gonna have us go off somewhere to where he's like, oh, you're gonna need a 4-wheel drive truck. I said, well, we got other people coming. They're not gonna be able to do all that, so we need to have base camp set up to where it's easy access. So then again, he was like, all right. He's like, I got just the perfect place. So his backyard in the field, we'll set up base camp, and then everywhere else will be hiking. And so yeah, if you're not familiar with who Wes Stump is, he's a resident of West Virginia. I know a few of you guys may know him. The town, I'm not sure exactly where. It's Mid Something Trail is the name of the area. You could actually look it up by clicking on the link that's in the expedition event that I have created on Facebook. The link is all there. I'm estimating it's probably no more than 2-3 hours from where I'm at, so it's fairly close to us, Fred. Yeah, and let's see. Like I said, there's a sign up. Anyone interested in joining, participating in the expedition? There is an online on Facebook and also on Google Plus. There is an event sign up for the 2015 expedition. And one thing I do ask, and I want to make clear, is think about it before you decide to join. Because with my future planning, as this gets closer, I plan a few things, and it's easier for me to make plans and organize the whole event as it gets closer. So if you're serious about it, then feel free to join. I mean, we would love to have you out there, and it's fun and it's a learning experience, and that's what the expeditions that we have every year are about. It's all part of the E.C.B.R.O. Discovery Project, and it's all a learning process. And if you're not sure what the E.C.B.R.O. Discovery Project is all about, feel free to check the website, the forums at www.ecbro.com, and also the WordPress forum is www.ecbro.wordpress.com. A lot of information's in there, and then of course right on Facebook itself, I have all the information there as well. So yeah, if you're serious, feel free to join, and we have a great time and fellowship, and it's a good time to get to know each other and meet in person, which I appreciated meeting Cliff. It's Elijah and Tracy in person, along with Kimmy and Darren, and they all got to meet you too, Fred, which was cool. What's that?
I said I love meeting all them guys.
Oh yeah, it's always fun to meet fellow squatchers.
That was a treat. It was a treat.
Oh yeah, and let's see, and hopefully we get to have Paul Hayes with us for a short while. If I'm quoting correctly, you mentioned that you'd be able to participate, but not the whole time, due to your job. Okay.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and if you're able to, feel free to spread the word. If anyone else is able to join, more the merrier, because we can plan out more of an organized situation to separate and pair up people in small groups, which is exactly what I was trying to do in this last event, but due to the small crowd that we had, I was not able to do that. So we stayed together, and we did separate and split off while we were in specific areas. But so like I said, depending on how many people show up, that depends on the planning and what we end up doing. And the final note, our next show for the E.C.B.R.O. Discovery News broadcast will be June 14th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do have a guest, Mitchell Waite, and him discussing the Mongolian Monster Project, and he will be here with us live. and so feel free to tune in and listen in, and he'll do some explaining on his behalf, and we'll talk to share and learn about that. He's been posting a lot of recent videos as well with his project that he's got going on with that. So before we go, anyone else have any last minute words?
I got one thing to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
During that expedition, I believe the highlight of the whole thing was I met, what is this? I know I met your daughter, I met your dad, and I met Cy and Bill Robertson. All
Sorry, say it again. I didn't hear that. I know what you said, but I don't think everyone else did because the audio went out.
I met your dad, Cy, Bill Robertson, all at the same time. Your dad is the funniest guy I think I've met in a long time. He'd take his glasses and he put them on. He was Cy. He'd take his reading glasses off, put his sunglasses on, and he was Bill.
Well, before we go, let me see if I could hold on. Give me a second.
I said hi, and it was great to meet him and your daughter. It was great.
I sure will. Give me a second. I'll see if I can pull up his picture real quick to show everybody. Actually, I recently included this picture in one of my sideshows I created on YouTube early today. Let's see.
It was great to meet Cliff. I'm looking forward to doing some research in the area down near Saltville too. By the way,
They're down there.
Tracy, when are you gonna be back up here in my area again?
Let's see. I'm not really sure just yet. I'm gonna have to let you know. I hope to make your event.
No, I mean when you're on the job, that is.
Oh, that I wouldn't know until I actually went in the next morning to get the paper.
Okay.
They don't ever let us know until the next day, until the day we show up. We're going to Sharpsville. So they got a lot of people who don't like to go to Sharpsville, and they tell them that the day before, and people are calling. So they don't want to go to Sharpsville.
Well, it was taking me a little too long to find the image, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, my dad, I got him shared on there. It's actually, he's on one of my my E.C.B.R.O. expedition sideshows. I created 3 new sideshows earlier. A lot of them with the most recent pictures from the event, and then one's called E.C.B.R.O. Team, and actually I included him in that as well. So, and Fred, you're in there too, so check it out.
Already did.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well, I'm jumping off. This is the end of the live broadcast. And again, next month, June 14th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Mitchell Waite will be our guest. And good night and God bless. All right.
Tracy.
Hey.
Yeah.
I had to go out and give me another motor, man.
Oh Lord, I had to go get.
I had a 350, but it's been sitting for like 15 years. So I went and traded for a 84 305 motor, GM. But whoever had it rebuilt it because it's got a massive 4-barrel intake on it.
Wow.
But I need you to find me an oil pan.
An oil pan?
Yeah, man.
What an oil pan off?
I ran and looked at it. I found a hole about the size of my fist in the bottom of it.
Would a oil pan off of a 96 Jeep Cherokee Country fit on yours as straight 6?
I don't know. I know a 350 oil pan will work. But
I'm probably getting ready to jump my Jeep before too long. It's on its last leg.
Well, you ought to hear mine.
Mm.
You fire mine up, man. It sounds like someone's taking a sledgehammer and hitting the side of the block.
Oh Lord.
That's rough.
Not good.
Yeah. So I'm trying. So I can't run it that much. Tomorrow or Monday, I'm planning on dropping the oil pan.